excited about it. So Representative Stephanie Garcia Richard will be our moderator.
Thank you, Carla. So hello everyone, good afternoon, thank you for joining us today. I am Stephanie Garcia Richard. This includes Los Alamos and then parts of Sandoval, Santa Fe, and Arriba counties. And I actually have 6 of the 89 school districts are represented in my district. So I just wanted to say a few words about where we were supposed to have been this morning, or this afternoon rather. There is a school in my district called Cochiti School, which is single grade all the way from pre-K through 8th. And I have a very strong relationship with that school. I've made a few presentations there, and they actually had their 4th grade class last year come up to the Capitol to learn about state government. So we thought that would be a great connector to be able to roll out the education budget there at that school, but unfortunately due to weather, we were not able to. So that was the original plan. And I just want to talk a little bit today about, before I introduce our speakers, I want to talk a little bit about the attempt, what we're really trying to do in bringing forth House Bill 3 and our proposals for funding education. You know, our state equalization guarantee, our funding formula, has been touted nationwide as really a way of getting fairness into the education system to ensure that each district gets a fair break at funding. And so we're very proud of that funding formula. This proposal, and Representative Stewart will talk more about it in detail, but this proposal really puts more of those dollars into the funding formula so that individual districts who know best their student populations, who know best their teachers and their needs, can make local decisions with the money that they're given through the funding formula. So that's really exciting. It's my honor really to be a part of that whole this proposal for our educational funding. The other thing I wanted to say about it is that it's time that our teachers had a pay raise. When we experienced an economic downturn in 2008 and 9, we slowly had to eat away at the educational budget, and so this proposal really brings back some of the fair compensation for teachers and educational assistants who so deserve it. And so without any further ado, it's my pleasure to introduce the Chair of House Education and my own personal hero and mentor, Mimi Stewart, Representative Mimi Stewart. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you all for being here today. I was really looking forward to going to Cochiti Elementary. Those students came and toured the Capitol a couple of weeks ago, and so they had questions. But the snow just did us in. In addition, we had superintendents that were going to be here, but they really had to be in their districts to deal with the snow. So I just want to talk a little bit about the budget that we have crafted. In the interim, the Education Committee, the Legislative Education Study Committee, heard from superintendents. We heard from what's called the education partners. That includes superintendents and principals and administrators, the PTAs, and both teacher organizations. They really all spoke with one voice. Because there now is increased revenue in New Mexico, yay for that, the first time really in 5 years that we need to try to send that funding through the state equalization guarantee. It's our funding formula. It's how we equalize funding. The kind of students you have in Artesia are different than the kind of students you have in San Juan. They're similar in lots of ways, but each of those districts has special needs and different things that they really need to do with funding. The state puts a lot of mandates on the districts, but our state equalization guarantee is the way we ensure that we're fair, that the needs you have in one district can be answered the same as in a different district. So what we did with House Bill 3 was to ensure that we put enough funding in our state equalization guarantee so we reach what's called our maintenance of effort. The State Department of Education has been very clear that we have not met it probably for the past 4 years. We've tried to remedy that through our budgets, but this is really the first time that we've had funding so that we could ensure that the state equalization guarantee meets our maintenance of effort. It's the first time. We don't need additional funding below the line when we send that funding through our state equalization guarantee. So along with salary increases, which are really necessary, after 5 years of not only no salary increases but increased health insurance costs and increased pension costs, we are seeing educators leave the state. We have more retirements and more resignations and more people just moving out of our borders across the states surrounding us, that they can make $10,000 to $15,000 more. So when you can't pay your bills, but you want to keep teaching, sometimes it's better to just leave, and that's what people are doing. So we need to, again, recruit and attract and retain teachers as the purpose of trying to move back to a salary system that we have had before the economic downturn. In addition, we had too many kids in classes around the state, upwards of 10% more in some of our classes, including things like 38 in a high school chemistry class. That's not safe. You basically don't have equipment and you don't have enough teacher eyes on a high school chemistry class of 38. So it's different across the state. We want to ensure that we can have a phase-in, so we're proposing a 3-year phase-in for different districts to go back to our statutory class sizes. So it's so wonderful what's happened this year, and that is the House Education Committee and the House Appropriations Finance Committee have worked together to come up with a compromise budget. It's a very good one. We have increased the funding for the Public Education Department and the governor's initiatives below the line by $10 million more than last year. That includes more funding in Reads to Lead, more funding in the schools in need of improvement, more funding for New Mexico Teach. So we have tried to meet the governor halfway and put funding into the PED for those purposes, but we have to maintain our effort for special education funding and funding for all of our students, and we believe that that's what this bill does. In addition, we've worked with Representative Varela on his at-risk bill, so we have found a way to make sure that that funding also goes through our state equalization this year and doesn't impact our maintenance of effort. So I'm really proud of the way we've worked together, and I'm happy to be part of this group. So before we move on, and we're happy to see that Representative Varela has joined us, and we also have Representative Miera, we have the president of the Superintendents Association on the phone, and he would like to make a statement. It's Paul Benoit from Floyd. Can you hear us, Superintendent Benoit?
I can. Thank you, Representative Stewart.
So would you like to make some comments?
To public school support, the School Superintendents Association, as education leaders in the state, every year develops a platform. And this year, we're very pleased to see that there is recognition and effort to address several issues on that platform. And first and foremost is to move toward a sufficient funding of the unit value. A lot of people in our state don't understand, and you alluded to it, Representative Stewart, on the equalization of the unit value and the importance of the unit value in funding operational dollars for schools to open up their doors. And this year, we're very pleased to see in House Bill 3 an effort to move money above the line to where we can address. The majority of districts are looking at 3, 4, and 5 years of no raises or minimal raises to teachers. And those minimal raises have then in turn been eaten up in take-home pay for insurance costs and other related benefits. There's a huge effort to reduce and eliminate the need for emergency funding. 10 years ago, I think 12 or 13 schools are on emergency funding. We've had onwards and upwards in the last 2 years of over 25. And that shows that there is a problem with the unit value, which is $75 right now, lower than it was in 2008, 2009. So there is a bill, and it's included in House Bill 3, at least in my last look, to reduce the need for emergency funding for our smallest schools that have struggled generating the units. And then, of course, you've addressed clearly, and there's reference in all the bills to increasing teacher pay. We're very happy with the idea of reducing the minimum first, second, and third tier teacher pay, and looking at a 3% raise is certainly something that we as superintendents want to see for our teachers who've been struggling for 5 years. And then we certainly support the effort to continue with the governor's and the public education department's initiatives. But we also have a platform that unless the unit value is sufficient where we can open up the doors and provide basic services, some of which we feel are being funded by those initiatives, we feel there's some effort in response by the legislators to reduce the unfunded mandates and let's focus first and foremost on providing a solid basic educational program for kids, and that is through the unit value.
Thank you. So thank you to Superintendent Benoit, President of the Superintendents Association here in New Mexico. I appreciate those thoughts. So before we go on to questions, folks, I do have one more person that I'd like to introduce, and that is our House Majority Leader, Representative Rick Miera, who I believe for how many years was the chair of the House Education Department?
18.
Committee? 18 years.
I want to thank everyone that's in attendance this afternoon for this press conference to give you the information that you all need as to exactly what's happening with the education. And I'm very proud of what's happened and what's going to be happening in the next couple of weeks as we look forward to putting money in the classroom. I think that is one of the most important issues that we're going to be finding, is that the new budget talks about putting money in the classroom, and its accountability is going to be at the local level where it should be. I also want to thank the representatives that are joining us as well, Representative Caballero, Representative Thompson, Representative Kane, who joined us this afternoon, but also would like to introduce and also Representative Lucky Varela, who I'll introduce in just a second, but also Superintendent Winston Brooks from Albuquerque in attendance this afternoon. And I don't know if Superintendent, if you'd like to say a word.
Well, I would thank you, Representative Miera. It's my pleasure to be here today. And yes, money's being put in the classroom because of this bill, but more importantly, I think, is it's putting local control back into the hands of local elected officials. I think we know best. I don't think Washington, D.C. or Arnie Duncan knows best. I don't think Santa Fe knows best. I think our local school boards know best about what our kids need and what our teachers need. I do want to thank Representative Varela and Representative Stewart for them working so hard on this compromise bill. I think if legislators in Washington would take you as an example, maybe get more done faster. So I want to tell you both, I'm very, very impressed with the expediency in which you've been able to work on this. It's going to be very, very helpful to the kids of Albuquerque and helping out the Board of Education build their budget. So I want to thank all of you who've worked so hard on this, and again, particularly to Representative Varela and Representative Stewart.
Thank you, Superintendent. And with that, great pleasure to introduce Representative Varela, the Chairman of the Finance Committee, that took under his wing the opportunity to pull all this together. We really want to thank him for his hard work, but especially for his hard work, and Representative Stewart mentioned his intent on working with and a successful opportunity to working with at-risk children. Representative.